So one thing we never really did discuss much, you mentioned the anarchist stuff earlier, but so you said that you had attention from the media and stuff before you ever did the milk sommelier stuff.
Yeah.
And I only know a little bit about the farming, and I don't know what all you can discuss because I don't know much about the whole thing. But why? I know quite a few Dutch people where it's like, if you're in the U.S. and you say, I'm an anarchist, that just means like you hate the government. But here, if you say I'm an anarchist, there's much more like to that belief. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more, I think, I guess, deliberate, like that stands for something here. So when you say like I was, involved in the anarchy stuff or whatever, what does that actually mean?
It also involved in myself as well. So anarchy, I think I was 17, and there was one guy, he said, I'm an anarchist. And I thought, Dennis, it was his name, Dennis, I think you are a lot, but you're not an anarchist. But I didn't know what it was, so I wrote I did a thesis or something for Dutch lessons about anarchism, and I really learned a lot and all the where it comes from and that sort of thing. And at that moment, I'm from a left-wing background in a way, so I was really see it as a left-wing thing, as a you have a sort of streams in anarchism, and the syndicalist stream is really dominant also in the Netherlands. So I wrote a lot of books. I still have something like, I think...
Read a lot of books?
Wrote. No, what are you called?
Wrote them?
Reading? No.
You read?
Read, yes.
Okay.
There's the English teacher again.
Well, I mean, you can't just claim to write a bunch of books about it.
No. I just bought a lot. So I think I still have something like 3 meters of books in about anarchism, but also more the philosophical way. And for me, it's more philosophical. So I want to be free, but I also want to respect the liberty of others. At that moment, it was really political for me. For me now, at this moment, it's more philosophical. I think anarchism is one of the sources that I drink of, but it's not something that really works for me at this moment. But what was... I started as sort of syndicalist. I also squat houses in Gouda and in Maastricht.
Can you explain what that means?
A squat is that there's an empty house, and you just break in. You go in. You remove the locks, and you put your locks on it, and then it's yours. In a way.
Why did that become? Because it was like a squatters movement here in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah, it's more like the 80s. So I'm not that old, but it was really a big movement. Yeah.
Why?
It was more in the 1980s because there were not much people who had possibility to hire a house or a place to live, and there were a lot of places that were empty, so they just squatted. And it was also the moment that we had a really big recession, so a lot of, especially young people, didn't have jobs, so not much money, enough time. A lot of empty houses, no place to stay. So you just take your ride and go into the house. So it's more, I think, about the surrounding at that moment was really okay to just start going to the movement. And it was not only about living, but it was also about taking care of yourself, do it yourself. And that's the mentality that I still like. So I just want to do things myself in my own way and don't want to harm others. So that's So that's also why I'm becoming an entrepreneur. The idea is not to create things, but create some sort of liberty for myself to do things as I think I like to do it, and also take care of myself.
So what was it like when because you said you squatted houses in Gouda. How was it like? You just go, you scout it out, you find one that you think would be decent, and then you just break in?
It's a bit more difficult than
Allegedly.
Yeah. But you also go to do especially a lot of research about, who's the owner, how long the house was already empty. Is it a house that has a living permit on it, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of rules around squatting. And at that moment, it was a bit more difficult than nowadays, because now you go on internet, you go to het kadaster, and you find everything.
Yeah.
But it's nice to tell something about the squat that we did in Maastricht. We just find a really nice house. It was a really expensive one. And we break in, and we just find out in Maastricht on the kadaster who the owner was and how long it was empty and that sort of thing. But that was the local kadaster, but it was not always up to date. So the regional kadaster in Roermond was up to date. So the moment when we squatted, just a few days before, there was a new owner, and it was not changed at the kadaster in Maastricht already, but it was in Roermond. So when we squatted, it was illegal. So we get the cops in front, and they said you have to go out. And if you don't go out, you're going to be arrested. And we just find out, okay, it doesn't really work to stay inside, because it's not there. We don't. You know that you at the end of the day you are in prison and you don't leave. Yeah. So the same day we just squat a few other houses with the same police, and then it was okay. But nowadays it's much easier in that way, but the rules changing all the time. So in the days that I started, or the days in the 1980s, you had to go to squat a house with a bed and a chair and that sort of things to go put in the house and to say, okay, now I'm living because there's a chair and a bed and a table. And when I was squatting in the 90s, the rules were already changing, and nowadays there are other rules again. So you have to really get into the legal stuff before you can squat.
Because now there's like organizations and stuff. Like I have some friends who live in houses that are like, they're technically squatting, but like one of them's lived there I think for like 10 years, you know, and it's like it's a whole system now.
But is it squatting or anti-squatting? I think it's anti-squatting.
Oh, there's anti-squatting, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So there's some sort of I don't know the story anymore who's writing it, but there's a nice story. If you say that your father is a left-wing person, then you was one of the squatters, and if you are your father is more the conservative liberal thing, like in the Netherlands is the VVD or something, the VVD. It's they called liberals, but there's a liberal stream and a more conservative stream just in one. So it's not like in the States. But if your father was voting on the VVD, then you were an anti-squatter. So that I think it's not anymore. But
these people that I know that have done it, it was just basically like it's kind of more farmhouses, like kind of out in the country, and it's basically like they don't want him to get, I think, bought by some other thing. But then also if you leave it vacant, then like kind of not nice house guests might come in. So
but there's also a way, if you just anti-squatter, they can put you out every moment because you just pay some sort of rent. And squatting is more like a legal thing. So if the owner wants to get you out, they have to go to court. But there's a whole in squatting. There's a more political background to why you do it. In theory, because a lot of people just want to live, and it's more like the cultural thing about being in a group as squatters that a lot of people just let them start squatting. I think for me it was a more political thing, so I didn't want to.
What were you trying to accomplish politically by squatting?
It was more about that I thought at that moment that if you have a house and there's a lot of people looking for a house, then it's not really nice in a way to leave it empty.
Right. So you're trying to make this point that this is not a good situation.
It's not a good situation. Yeah.
All right.
Now as a house owner, I'm a bit more capitalist part of my
anarchy goes away once you
sometimes. But I think it's still. But for me, but and that's I think for a lot of especially young people, squatting is really nice because it's really about do it yourself. So I squat a house. There was no water, so I creating a line of water, and we created. We want to have a nice window, so we created a window. So I learned a lot about it. I learned to do things and not with my knowledge, but just do it. So my father is really practical, But when I was doing something at home, he just pushed me away. So I can do it. And now there was nothing to push me away, so I can just do it.
Right.
Okay, just buy a saw and just make a hole.
Yeah.
Okay, how to close it? Okay, I don't know. Just but then you have friends who can help you, and
so you said that was
pipe
in the
fitting and that sort of thing.
Oh
It's
gosh,
great. Yeah. So
and that was in the 90s. You said
Yes,
your
yeah.
school. Okay.